aka kire Rawlings bano se onka na no ntum na ne papa eye wudini yeah truly pa na asemwe ba abontre no matisa manfo ekasa na abujina po adenti okasa na midwene ho amenti ase topic ne se ha mo ede pa se Ghana fire say yempemra ye share history yen kaide atoto ye wo man Ghana mu I say nsem atoto ye ni na ye refri yen kai enti nipa bia ba de ope Who is J.J Rawlings? First question. Why J.J Rawlings? Ebane se no benya dini ewo Ghana man. Ono ne hwan? Abrabo no boy. Dia be no be ye. Ni nyina ne ye be kasa fa. Ona hwe. Dia ko fa nsem ni nyina abanie. Na afenyo markings kasa. But because we don't have the cameras towards where Senator Rawlings was sitting, you know, I can't see what Senator was doing, but see it has with it. Yes, Abuja so wetia. Abra fanyo marking kasano. Somebody spoke in the microphone. Our catcher Senator Rawlings said. Our catcher Senator said, daughter of a mother, sit down. And a man for second one to manka or sit there be other say no kre. Say no kre say papa akumunipa. Na sa sem we na me bisa wo Ghana ni nua be ma wo hweme nua ba wo hweme mpanfo e wo fie we mu an ya wo mpanfo wo mpa bebre e wo enima ba ko sem e che me pa enti me the link we to ha se betumi akreke so upa na wa join na wa be kan de onim e fa Rawlings ho e de a kire se no kore se Rawlings no ye wudini and Ocresa Rawlings by Obesay Ghana a Japade, and Ocresa Rawlings by Obesay or Mine Ghana, in Nipaduna no Moyamo, and Ocresa Rawlings now say Ghana for Kurajunama, Ghana for Timi. Sansa no, who are washing the Kafa Rawlings from the link and to Oboso of Beba down, Opa, when Nimumba, or voice in Kwana Beba, but now I'm talking. And to me, Opa, who should to me join it. Through the link, media to comment section box. Now, me found when you was no my country say so here comment section where my pin link be abosoro a YouTube link, sa link no a Union SKB TV ni new channel will be mesla wo say bo modern na nyoma so na emfa won channel no so. Na ko subscribe e wo channel no so na like video ba ko na odi ato ho no se de be ya ba osan abeka SKB TV na busia kuo kese no ho na bibi nti no enya trouble kakra e wo ne channel dada no ho SKB TV no nje se na ye Kakari TV onyuma so na hu Kakari TV a e SKB ne dia wetumi anyuma so na wa subscribe na waka abusia se de be ya wo nka achi Abusian for yan to us in Koyanim. Tie video. Sì.
Però quella che non ti piace, ti va bene lo stesso?
I was afraid I had video na some Mokai or say daughter of a mother. Sit down. You know, some country. You can just say that be man can sit that be identity America. And a Christian papa communipa. Asem obeto abontra manfo se some Samuel Ginapo and a kai. In any case, Samuel Ginapo abontra say you no na kai. Yam friend on tonche no ehu hiame. Let's go deep into this issue. Who was J.J Rawlings? Rawlings, when he came in politics first, and before he left politics, who was he? Abusia asemwe no. I was saying coming show we during daytime pananka. A man phone to me joining me here. But in any case, we will do it. We will do it well. We will do it very well. Yebeye manayefe. Yebeye nso manayefe. Program now saying coming here during daytime pananka enye fabekom so. Yeah, Abusian 4. We a short documentary about J.J Rawlings. Sad documentary where you see Rawlings in different moments. Yes, this was who we called Rawlings. All right, Papa, we no is so Jenny. Papa, we or say on TRCS, I can for especially Ghana. Na ye ka esikafo a eya kan for nko. Papa, we or say on TRCS Ashanti ene bonofo omo stabilize wealthy omo nya omo ho omo ade omo ho e wo Ghana man no nti ase. Papa we o say now nti ase se liman in 1979 o say on nti ase se bi nti liman na wo so ni Ghana man so. Papa we ya also on ase de ntia e wo se Ghana fo Asante fo Akamfo Achemfo any other tribe no omo the central of Ghana no omo nya omo ho. Enti papa we eye ku wo Ghana man we yo papa we oye ku wo Ghana man mu. Na the original so odi ye ku e wo man no mu ne se o se amanfo ye de corrupt akromfo tachi amoa e na omo anje Ghana man aboso enti onti ase enti opese ono emra medi o man no so na onye den omfa o man no enko ginabre omfa o man no enko Boshe asase so. Uwe so timu se ne papa eye Scottish. Ne maame na ye Ghana ni. Into no way. Onye pure Ghanaian, half Scottish. This man was born for a slave master and a warrior. Aye. Someone will make catch you 10 years. 10 years. Someone will. Ne maame ne papa anware ankotra fie baakum te se oyere ene okunu fatuti samanwe ne papa ne maame ankotwempena ena oba efiri epiemu efiri baaye fatuti samanwe enye dobi na na wone maame ne papa ntamu a ye de wo no ene meka monsem pa ene meka monsem sa papa we na enye dobi na na wone maame ne papa ntamu a ye de wo no sa man we is a son born out from violence, sexual violence, abuse, sexual abuse. Sexual violence, and I didn't know for the papa way. Ubisam said, let me explain to you. Abrofona omuba Ghana, the UK for no mere the last slaves masters, omuba Ghana by mono. Can you say Ghana for yen independence? In 1957, Rawlings were 73 years in 2020. And listen to me very well. Papa, we are not way. The quiet fast so I won no. Quiet fast so I papa and mamma. Equada ya. Kwanya ne maame ne papa fa so omo wo no a crime. This man was born out of a crime scene. Sexual violence. Because soldier for no UK for no abrofo na omo betena Ghana maimu a na omo hwe yenso omo di yenso omo sisi yen omo boye na po no bebre na afọ omo yire no mama bebre no omo nko ane baaye mintri yi pictures bi nkyeremo nka meyi bi akyeremo wa hwia na abandonment nti minyi but so we are research by yourself you will see how these white men, the UK men, were treating Ghanaians on our own land. Either you're a man or a woman. Until that time, no, it was not possible, say, a soldier man, or you can say, soldier near UK bana you say omra no mehwe Ghana so omume yusu yen omume silevu yen no ono no ne Ghana ni ba tuntum betwe mpena atena se te say mpena you can say boyfriend and girlfriend ena sabre num no Ghana for man no Ghana for me man ankasa no apart from the top hierarchies of politicians and no more minum no. Now they were even afraid of the white man. Fatu team. So there was no manner that they could be a lovely relation partner in terms of intimacy among Papa we ne papa and ne mame. Papa we ne mame through sexual abuse, through sexual violation, Yet to ne maame mo na ye for so ne die na ye de wo papa we. So this man was born out of crime, and for consequently he was born with anger in him. Abushanfo me asem se de tesa na meka no nyento na metwa kire wo. What the asem na meka no, just try to add your senses to it and you understand me very well. Sakwa we papa we Yankopon fa ne kren se baby order. He was not from even empra yesi wakofo afro enyama wale minute fie na yawo dabi wabi so on sa dentia papa sojani UK sojani a wabaga na maimu a wawo ba na wo sori firi Ghana ekoja oba no enene maame nyina e wo Ghana maimu na one for one machire biem. Have you ever heard about the father of J.J RAWLINGS? What is it? Yes, RAWLINGS ni papa picture ni. What is it? RAWLINGS wakwa ni papa nchen. What is it? RAWLINGS ni papa yesie no ha. What is it? RAWLINGS ekasa about his uncles, aunties from what? Ebi eni ho. No, damn. No, Carmen. What can you say here? Mie. No, me scaricato. Aspetta. No. Ma bisogna fare un fancemela. Mi microphone no. Sa tiako. Iye ya sebo be sa motime nkan yie pa. Se mo mama sound na me say motime nkan yie. Mo mama sound pa na me say motime nkan yie. Ejja bu sha America. J.J RAWLINGS was born from anger, and he became a man angry with the world because of say when he realized about his personal story. Utemi yepa. Bro no ankasa realize say kwan ye fa so aye wo no. Ba bia ye wo no. Circumstances enam so ye de wo no. Na nya depend no. The man was really angry with the whole world. Papa we so antiase asantefo anya omo ene watiase de ntia wonte se ye ka RAWLINGS ne papa nie beda bia ka se RAWLINGS maame ye voter ni na ye hu ne pen ye nim ne pen. This is because RAWLINGS mother was forced to have sex. So ne broni beda broni ne force no ne dae e na owo no amen kan okoda ne nkyerɛw. A force and a force no and a day a war RAWLINGS. The entire American on same way in our and then the entire American same way in our say Papa we what say nipa there say a war kwanya emfata so automatically you become angry with the world. Now the every video way na mento asoncho the every video way.
To the west, one might expect
I'm just an ordinary, hungry, screaming Ghanaian who wants to realize his creative potential, who wants to contribute.
Songs in praise of me, please sing it in praise of Ghana. A government has the obligation, the moral responsibility to be seen to be fighting against corruption all the time. By virtue of what happened, or the revolt of 79, this government has become more proactive in fighting against corruption.
An unconstitutional act of a coup involves a...
Okay, abusia masanya ba me microphone nya trouble kakra ntia me koe. Yeah, papa muntie me yepa. Papa wei no ye broni owo Ghana maimu a oye sojani komode no. The white supremacy ewo ni mu kakra because ono na mo no no hu ne ho say oye broni kakra. Into the white supremacy kakra abedi ne mu. Osanso ye sojani. Dien ena papa we ye. Papa we twen tuo ekum Ghana for. I'm not talking about minka J.J for no ho asem o. Minka soldier for papa we ko mo ho asem o. Ordinary Ghanaians. Papa we kum nipa e de pay to me ebe try Ghana konwa so. Papa we in the sense of me ku e de age oman no because ebinom ya wudifo abokro no anya omo ho. Adi awunti me ku age oman na free krono proyene kankan mu no. Papa we enam ne so nti Ghana fom painfo a asikafo akamfo titire asantefo temiyo asantefo a no mo abo mo homodene akamfo na omo abra bogina omo nan so enam adwuma dene omo aye no omo hwidiem akwawe nanabi papa say Rawlings emma na japade kese pa ahwere no very big tycoon businessman ani brenti Rawlings yeden emma papa na japade ahwere no in the sense of I'm fighting chesemisi sankrofo we na the ARFC PNDC any NDC nyina no omo ya wudifo Evans ankama kuvimu akwa pa omo ya wudifo. They are wicked murderers, assassinators, destroyers, men with that crew. Yeah. Papa wait me to ni husi ho in the name of I'm fighting for the poor. Te say John Mahama na anu adai. Atwe tuo edi kum Ghana for atitire for. Na wa fe say woti oman mu. Na ebi a wodo koko. Wo ye adwumaden. Obre. Oye adwuma tete o widiem na na me no so nti watumi nya ntoma mienu ana ntoma miensa bi agu dan mu na me no santi ye ba wo fie abechewa bro uti ya na eja uti ya na ekun in the name of we have to be equal. I was saying that equal Michael J SK the channel no the new channel no link na ma pin wo comment section ho no etu tumi e dey ekreke so no akọ join no abusia we say in the name of I'm fighting for the poor and am no so na obi atumi bi ono ankasa ni provision store adwumaden a waye de aboabo asika no e de atumi bi store. Now we say me yeden me banama mo ye nyina ba ba ye penti wo wanya wo ho me ba wo store mu a na ma chewa bro na ma sesa wo niema na me de ko me fie me de ko na mi soja fo mpanyimfo achecha fa amanfo companies akese ARFC fo asoja fo na jeje amanfo companies twe boss ne ekunkum obinom ne ekunkum binom ne afọ mo japade obi so ya che ye ba ne abro ne ya je wo japade ekitawo in the name of I'm fighting for the people. And so make you say Rodins onye molder na oboa Rodins e wudi fo pa nsem na mpamfo no nkan but na me ba be titi niema nketinketi bi so akyerew me ba be ka akyerew de enti a Rodins ma yeku saa judge fo miensa no me ba be yiso akyerew up to today Ghana mpamfo ya maji so mbo be ka na krema ni party ase sa ALFC for way omo adwuma na omo ye ne se Rawlings etete aku ahodo ehira sesa amanfo training won in every city eti adwuma na nkrofo we ye ne se they go across the city and see who is doing well why na brabo ekoso ye why na sabi wabo ne homodrema ni sika semu koyie na ya link ya kan kire Rawlings na Rawlings ya suma soja for na omo aba wadwumam ebia ofie na ya ba ni ya chewa bro uti ya ni eja uti ya ni eku na ya sianje company kita no ya je ya de by force tu ne se kan ya je so ya kromfo Rawlings jeji nipa bebre ajapade ede ma ono ankasa ne nkrofo a one won eyeku one won edi nsemfo wo manum one won di ewu wo manum na to cut everything short mempese meko too much na ebi obi beka se Rasti ya che breko ade asa ye nkoda ne hwan no hwe Rawlings kum ya sa mesese ono ankasa ne namfofo sojafo enum ebo wontu okun wo in the face of everybody obi ahui in 1979 Rawlings is sa ono nko ne nkrofo enwotwe asojafo esa online ekum nyina ebia udu ese meboa enenie oh, what is the video? Why ni kuwon? Eba ni se ni kuwon. Sa eni sa sojafo wei sa sojafo enwatwe wei a Rawlings ball modern ema yeku won no bone bera na omde aye Rawlings na enemo pe bibia hwewa ho nyanto ba say I want you to look at something very well. The person will hear before when you hear when you hear bibi. And he said Samuel Jinapo I can the parliament say John Jinapo I can the parliament say Rawlings ye wudinia odika wan else nkon kama njichim e o microphone ankasam no Ghana for hu Vivian kuma mwakwaba oskani kwajo me mwakwaba pa Ghana for nipa bia I say ye passem I swear to my God say any serious country nka the name Jerry John Rawlings nka ye be cancel every politics mo minum. I swear to my God say nka ye man be ye serious in terms of politics. Nka the name Jerry John Rawlings in our political arena was supposed to be cancelled. I was saying that yankataso se mo be a money deni. Ti say the Germany onim na ko kan yitre sem mo politics ma ye more life imprisonment. Omo sign bi wo ho mo ye de chia because of Hitler. Onim na ye bi wo any of these European countries ya wo asem. Enti who Rawlings utumeche wan kasa osojafo nipa maako nwotwe amanfo papa amanfo maame asori amanfo papa nom amanfo wofanom amanfo nananom odi omu gina ho bo wontuo jiwa asem so yebeka ho asem general jiwa yebeka no so ho asem ajeje fo miensa na oku wom no so yebeka ho asem enti uti babina yebeka to say na Rawlings he was a good man, good wine man. Obi ana wa find se praye obedi Ghana konwa be ye ne ntrotro asem ode kono ene Ghana ye can the most richest man oye nabusiamfo ye one of them. Obi oba ye o say abinuma ye yie oba na obia ye pe no ye wie na ne ba Jonathan Rawlings ye na ote parliament amanfo papa safna we eni kwase nka oba in politics po no ko school UK ai wo maame no mutua tax a na Rawlings they are top fuel and good play mu Saturday Sunday na Jonathan Rawlings osua kwan ye fa so ye twa lopre ye twa helicopter me ameti hoyi ominya panyi na woti hoyi moto kura aro ya kura papa timi to bi ma wase fasua moto ka in the name of we have to be equal. But see our socialist people we ho omuya wodifu they are wicked in their blood. Now they nipan enwotwe na Rawlings ku wo no ye hwe this small documentary emfa omo ho ye hwe sa small documentary we emfa omo ho ye wia na ya to aso pesa documentary we.
Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings of Ghana is remembered for many things, one of which is the execution of 3 former heads of state and 5 other generals during his first tenure as military president of Ghana. In this edition of Back in History, we bring to you the story of the arrest and execution of the former heads of states and the 5 generals. We present their names, faces, and profiles, and also present the reaction of Ghanaians and the international community to the executions. We shall present their names in no particular order, but beginning with the 3 heads of states. Welcome to this edition of Back in History. The first person is General Ignatius Achemgbong. He was 47 years old when he was executed. Achemgbong came to power on 13th January 1972 when he removed civilian President Kofi Bousia from power in a bloodless military coup. He remained in office till July 1978 when he was removed by his own deputy, General Fred Akufo. Upon his removal from office, Achemgbong ended his military career and went back home and lived a private life. When Jerry Rawlings took over as military head of state, he ordered for the arrest of Achemgbong. Achemgbong was then taken before a military court-martial and accused of corruption. He was pronounced guilty by the court-martial and sentenced to death by firing squad. J.J Rawlings, being the military head of state at the time of the sentence, gave his approval for the execution, and on 16th June 1979, Achempong was taken before the stakes and shot. This brought to an end the life and times of General Ignatius Kutu Achempong. It was the first time in the history of Africa that a former head of state of a country would be tied to the stakes and fired. The international community was shocked, but for Rawlings, the execution needed to be carried out to, in his words, purge Ghana of corrupt elements, and there was no apology, no going back on it. The execution of General Ignatius Achempong was the first of many executions to come. Other former heads of state would also be lined up and executed in the coming days. General Ignatius Achempong was one of the earliest trained military officers of Ghana. He joined the military in his youth. He was born in September 1931. At his birth, Ghana was known as Gold Coast and was under colonial governance. He was born to Catholic parents who gave him the name Ignatius at baptism. Ignatius attended Catholic primary and secondary schools in Trabuam and Kumasi, both in the Ashanti region of Ghana. He worked briefly as a stenographer and as a teacher before joining the army. He was sent to England by the government of his country for military training at Aldershot. On completion of his training, he was commissioned for the Ghana Army in 1959. On his return to Ghana, he was deployed by the military to several military institutions and formations. During the Congo War, Achempong served as a member of the United Nations Peacekeeping Force. He served as military head of state of Ghana for 6 years. He was married to his wife, Faustina Achempong. The second head of state that was executed was General Akwasi Afrifa. Afrifa became military head of state of Ghana following the unexpected resignation of his boss, General Joseph Ankara. Kwame Nkrumah was the first Prime Minister of Ghana. The Constitution of Ghana was later amended to provide for the office of President, and Kwame Nkrumah also became the first President of Ghana. While in office, Nkrumah traveled to Hanoi, then capital of North Vietnam, on a state visit on the invitation of the then leader of the country. While in Hanoi, his government back home in Ghana was toppled in a military coup. Young military officers like Emmanuel Kotoka and Akwasi Afrifa were actively involved in the planning and execution of the coup. The coup brought Nkrumah's rule to an end, but the coup plotters brought a more senior military officer on board as head of state in the person of General Joseph Ankara. Ankara accommodated the coup plotters in his government and gave them juicy positions. It was General Ankara who brokered the Aburi Accord between Lieutenant Colonel Emeka Dumegu Ojukwu of Nigeria and Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon in his last attempt to prevent the outbreak of a civil war in next-door Nigeria. General Ankara also had a friend from Nigeria called Francis Aton Nzeribe. Nzeribe was an international businessman and arms dealer. Ankara was accused of engaging in corrupt practices with Aton Nzeribe and was forced to resign from office. Ankara resigned from office. This is how Akwasi Afrifa became his successor as the new military head of state of Ghana. Afrifa governed for a short while and saw to the conduct of democratic election. He handed over power to the winner, Dr. Kofi Busia, as second democratically elected president of Ghana. Afrifa then retired from the army and engaged mainly in farming. He also took part in politics. He later contested for a seat in parliament and won, but was never alive to occupy the seat. He was arrested in his farm at Mumpong on the orders of J.J Rawlings. He was detained, tried by a special court-martial on charges of corruption while in office, and sentenced to die by firing squad. Under approval of Rawlings, he was tied to the stakes and fired on the 26th day of June 1979, 10 days after the execution of Ignatius Achempong. His body was buried without ceremony at the Nsawam Prison Cemetery in Ghana. In 2002, President John Kufuor gave approval for the exhumation of his remains from the cemetery for reburial in his hometown of Krobo, following a petition by the wives of the slain generals. General Akwasi Afrifa was born on 24th April 1936. At the time of his death in 1979, he was 43 years old. He attended the Mons Officer Cadet School in Aldershot, England. He also attended the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, also in England. He also attended the School of Infantry, Hitz, United Kingdom. He was also an alumnus of the Defense College, Teshi, Ghana. He was commissioned in 1960 as second lieutenant for the Ghana Armed Forces. He worked in the army for several years. He was married to Christian Afrifa, and together they had 9 children. The next head of state that was executed was General Fred Akufo. He was the last head of state before Rawlings. He is a person that succeeded General Achempong through a palace coup led by him. On taking over from Achempong, he began his administration smoothly, but in no time a coup was staged against his government by soldiers led by J.J Rawlings. The coup was not successful, and J.J and his associates were arrested and detained. It was General Fred that constituted a special court-martial to try them. Rawlings and associates were pronounced guilty and sentenced to death by firing squad by the military court-martial. While in detention, awaiting the approval of Fred Akufo for their execution, a group of junior officers broke into the detention facility and freed J.J Rawlings and others. They then caused the removal of General Akufo and the enthronement of Rawlings as the new military head of state of Ghana. While in office, Rawlings ordered for the arrest of former military heads of state on charges of corruption, and General Akufo was among those arrested. He was taken before a special court-martial and pronounced guilty and sentenced to death by firing squad. On 26 June 1979, he was tied to the stakes and shot at the Teshi military range, Ghana. This brought to an end the earthly life of General Frederick William Kwasi Akufo. Fred was born in March 1937, and at the time of his execution in 1979, he was just 42 years old. Fred attended Presbyterian Boys' School in Odumashi, Krobo, and later enlisted in the Ghana Army in 1957. He trained at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, United Kingdom, and was commissioned for Ghana in 1960. He also attended the National Defense College, India, in 1973. He was married to Emily Akufo. 5 other generals were also executed. The first of them, in no particular order, was General Robert Kotei. Kotei was the Commissioner for Information in the government of General Ignatius Achempong. He also served as Commissioner for Housing. He later served as the Chief of Defense Staff in the government of General Fred Akufo. He was thus very close to power. When J.J Rawlings seized power from General Fred Akufo, there was an announcement that all former political office holders should report to the nearest police stations to them. Kotei was one of the first to hit the call. He surrendered himself to the officer in charge of the Achimota police station in Ghana. The police communicated to the military that Kotei had submitted himself. He was then placed under arrest and later taken away to face trial on charges of corruption. Some reports have stated that he was taken before the court-martial, while other reports have stated that he was never tried at all. On 26 June 1979, Major General Robert Kotei was executed by firing squad. Just like others executed with him, his body was buried without any ceremony. He was buried at the Nsawam Prison Cemetery. He was married to Nancy Kotei, and together they had 9 children. He was 43 years old at the time of his execution. The next person was Roger Feli. Roger Feli was a colonel in the Ghana Army. He was born in May 1941. Roger had served as Minister of Foreign Affairs from 1975 to 1979. He was commissioned in 1963 as a second lieutenant for the Ghana Army upon his completion of military training in Ghana and in the United Kingdom. He was a member of the National Redemption Council headed by General Ignatius Achempong. Before his appointment as Foreign Affairs Minister, Feli had served as Commissioner for Works and Housing and also served at various times as Commissioner for Trade and Industry, Commissioner for Finance and Economic Planning. He was thus considered by Rawlings government as one of the senior military officers who was too close to power and needed to be eliminated. On 26 June 1979, Roger Feli was lined up along with other top-ranking military officers and executed by firing squad at the Teshi military range at Teshi on the outskirts of Ghana. Roger Feli was buried without ceremony at the Nsawam Prison Cemetery. His remains were however exhumed along with others and taken home for reburial on the permission of President John Kufuor, following the petition submitted to him by widows of the executed military officers. Roger Feli was 38 years old at the time of his execution. He was the youngest of the persons executed. The next person was Air Vice Marshal George Yao Bokye. He was born on 25th December 1937. He served as commander of the Ghana Air Force and a member of the Supreme Military Council of Ghana under General Ignatius Achempong. As commander of the Air Force, Flight Lieutenant J.J Rawlings was a junior officer to him. When Jerry took over as military head of state, one of the persons arrested and detained was Air Vice Marshal George Yao Bokye. On 26 June 1979, he was lined up and executed along with other high-ranking military officers. At the time of his execution, he was 41 years old. He was trained at home and abroad. He left behind a wife, Beatrice Afua Bokye, with whom he had 5 children. The other person executed was Rear Admiral Joy Kobla Amedume. Rear Admiral Joy had served as the Chief of Naval Staff. He was thus considered to be too close to power. When Rawlings came to power, Joy was arrested and detained on charges of corruption. And on 26 June 1979, he was executed by firing squad along with other generals. His body was buried without the usual military ceremonies, but several years after, his body was released to his family for a burial during the government of President John Kufuor. The last but not the least of the eliminated generals was General Edward Kwaku Utuka. Utuka was a high-ranking military officer who had received training at home and abroad. On his return to Ghana, he was posted on several military assignments, and when the military took over the reins of power in Ghana, Utuka became an integral part of the military government. Rawlings considered him as corrupt and ordered for his arrest and detention. He was executed on the same day with General Ignatius Achempong and was therefore one of the first 2 persons executed by the Rawlings administration. Rawlings justified these killings and told the people of Ghana and the world that the killings had become necessary in his bid to rid the country of corrupt elements. He called it, quote, house cleansing. He stated that Ghana was never going to witness transformational development if the generals were allowed to stay alive. For Rawlings, the elimination of the generals was the beginning of progress and development for Ghana. Several persons in Ghana went into jubilation over the elimination of the generals. They saw Rawlings as the man of the moment and the Spartan that Ghana badly needed at the time. Others, still from Ghana, however, disagreed with Rawlings. They rejected his modus operandi. They called it dictatorial. In this category were mostly Ghanaians who were abroad and could voice out their opinions without fear of arrest and detention. There were indeed cases of corruption in the country following many years of president of Ghana. Kufuor justified his action as being in line with the need to engender healing and national.
Enti abusianfo yebiso say Rawlings wudifo a ka kire won say yes oye wudifo so what Rawlings oye wudini pa asoja for Ghana for mpemfo na omo anyina nka omo tena ase nka omo bebo oman nchichire enwotwe ena okum won omo ye ne hwe o ohyira do kogina court anim ana waketwa guso ye koromfo no amaya boutuo ne yakum wi awufunu yemfa mo abusua o yemfa mo abusua na ya hwe na wo zenata Rawlings senka Ghana ya man bia yesi do so wo nka politics nka ya ma wo manim nka politics no ma amene wasefo nyina nka moye tabu kese pa in terms of politics ba mu bibi nti yejeje mo so amosan ko gina parliament so mu bedi nkwasi asem enti someone gina po oye ni ye video ya me bo kire nyame na me ka kire wo se Rawlings ku ono ankasa na namfufu omo ana oni omo ye adwuma omo ana omo ye head of state se no a papa ichi wonku wonkwa for no reason na businessman oku omo bi eni ajeje form yensa papa we ma yekochi wana nopa anajo 9 o'clock ya nyume 9 o'clock free won fie ekokum wonkwa adentia sa ajeje fo no na omo eku ede ama businessman a yeji omo japade free won nsam unim so Father Samuel wo Aja Samuel hello Pacho Temenka okay wa me to aso bia na oye ne nema yie Rawlings ma etimi kwasesa ajejefo miensa edi firi won fie ekokum okwa adentia sa ajejefo no atu omo ho asi ho se omo beku edi ama hwan edi ama sebi adwuma nipa na omo aye adwuma dena omo ajapade Rawlings ne nkromfo awi afiri omo age afiri omo nsam enti bia wunim history ne dia de be kan kiro bia no bagie adi judgefo a yekum omo nie kwajo aje ya Japan unim ni pakura I think say that is the father of now Kwabena Japan Cecilia Quentin Ado maame ononyem papa maame ne ononyem oye judge nso no onyem Rawlings me kwache no firi ne fie ko boni tu okum no Frederick Poku sa akode ye kofa ne firi ne fie ko kum no kwa adentia okun dia magana fo ana Rawlings ne nkrofo ajeje omo japade enti ye ka amso mayenka mi Samuel Pacho Temenka Aja hello
yeah
hello Pacho Temenka Hello. Hello. I'm say baby you want network no. O network ni nyina so ye. Ntu betumi nya baby papa gina. Hello. So Tim can ye. Yeah, I think say on Tim can ye. I mean, free some fan number be na ayekam. She say, "And more be major can't just already so any papa. Right, so you wouldn't no, you wouldn't pa. Hey, Ghana former me for be not yes, I'll be not 50,000. Papa we be jina catch up so mum for music camera. Na on sign farm mom or jisika ni na de ko go bank one farm mom beam. And then Ghana ban sase ahodo ekita na adjuman kunadu e wo Ghana mamu ye ka ye wie 31st woman hwan ko he Ghana sase ekita wo in the name of I'm coming to fight for you wo be kwama hwan na wo be kwama no wo ba se wo be didi wan ka se obotom and I remember back kunkan I say J.J for no kwa na ba akokoro guso a o ma ne ba no fo ye fa ma me no kokum no pacho temenka Mr. Samuel am say ba bi owo no o network ni nyina so yi o hello yemi aba akwanjo ne sen kope so pacho temenka hello. Oh, asemi ya yo. Ntenenka. Utimi kasa yanke webu apa because utimi se uo asem.
Fine. So poor bababum. Inti one Mr. Medjako bina. Rolling to me kuru Medjako camp. Medjako binu.
Aye.
Woman got trauma chain. Tata me call me tell my papa friend na akwa. And the Medjako was after go secondary school. Into of secondary school bar. Sata quite a very little boy. And to be nada kwa students back on bar. And I kwa me to so nti. E also a search you hono a crooked way be. And to bar. Let me divika but it was aquabo. Let me divika mako the trunk do. I can't carry the trunk, but I will never allow anybody to carry. Na aqua, obviously, not to brodo, no that seven sa, no that Damian or the big coffee and one in France or coffee. And we know what Trianti, are you very nice guy? And the one is you couldn't kusa aqua, that's a military officer.
Wow, Okumunekwa.
And what must me and this D. Taboy, Okun and you 2 weeks in Papa.
Wow.
What do you know? We to one is wrong. I don't die Jagana from home. But when you tell us, and this one of Pramadia in the city. Saboy no Kunu. Different or no, a major or Tatuaco military or where major Majaqua. What is no Kunu? Kuban Papasu, we. Of you win by cook to heavy, we wouldn't buy my phone in search you. What are you trying? And be ama and this o come in facility.
Obi ya kumu obi a ono na ohwe ono na opo wasem sa.
Ono you ni papa na commander form. Nti di pa we start dia men transfer that. And this mean and ti bi di kaka ka ho ano. And this di anya me life kura bempe.
O tira ma sheda fro back door na yedi nkomo why.
Mati.
That's it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Nti abusia ohu. Nti obi ko kase Rollins Mulder. Na ujira baby na wo defend na ada se wunim o man history. Ana bibi hawadwene. Bibi hawadwene. Se mpanyimfo wo bedi Ghana man so ansa na wo ba bedi o man so. And I'm so one fa kwan papa ne bedi o man so ntino utumi chiomo sa omo nyina like kuma omo nyina nipa nwotwe ansi ho a okumo bia na wafa sojafo mienu ne miensa aka ho ne wakuma omo aka ho into the year 8 times 3 na fa nipa duro okuma omo aso J.J mo de mraye adwuma wo man no ye niema wonti na okuma asikafo omo abre nipa omo abre omo mogya mo kreti nyuma ama amanfo anya adwuma ye o se wo bia ofiri sika ni ho votant no okuma amanfo na ojomo japade na da bia meka no Ghana ho no ena yese inimra so senke di mraso pa enkasa ne mano nka politics nke mo mane hu da etimiya me de me manu si wo ha breko ha de asapa ena de asapa but na have to do this show say ye serious pa nka Rawlings asefo nka the political arena they will never venture to come close ye serious wa nka the name J.J Rawlings no nka ye kanka na amanyo sema ye money din fa mata ho nka osema ye musuo mayen papa de tumi kukumasi dwam ko fa maamefo e ba omo baabi e wo nipa nim etwamu ma ai papa ukono obi ya dwuma bre anya ne ho a wo so nte ase ko ana wakum no ebenya akwanya na wadwan kwa no de ne makọ na okubi na dwuma kuro fufuro so ena ndi sini akwada so de onam so onya dwuma anye ento koto ba ma ndisi o moda abuja for me sheda ne board documentary ne kire mo no me sheda pa because sometimes awu me na me ye blogger no asem bi ohana me ka kire wa e bia robedwe se bia ma sheda me ye propaganda na asem ya me kam ni se mpemfo bebre o platform we so omu nim ni nyina enti sazna ta Rawlings ne de onfanto ne tim se wa ye lucky kura mpo se ma na kwanyama ne wura Parliament of Ghana wa ye lucky o papa oba so be kwama pepe yo aba ene mo na mo sika wo man no mo ye de na nya sa sika no adwuma be na wo papa no maame o mo ye na mo abrabo mo sa sika no miya samoro usu asem na wakane na okrepa se yese bia je kufo na ye good manner nka Rawlings nka ose nko nchini ntum ka ose nko ba ya nko nchini ntum awudi bebre ya awudi ye nyina wo ye do ko international court okre be twa tum for life for your rest of your life na mo manya no ebe wura Ghana Parliament ebe kire what we should do abusia for time ko bre continue de mo be sia so be person French na adwen a ekwan dem ai wa person French wa adwen bia no ekwan dem utumi frɛ na wa che wa adwen mabre because I wanted to come earlier but you didn't want to me ama now the mutie ha ye interview bia na ye visa Rawlings say nti nipa okunkum omo no ete wo sen wo da e ba wo so ti asem o kan travel.
An unconstitutional act of a coup involves a real crisis of conscience. Did you have a similar crisis of conscience?
I was not the only one. The armed forces.
I'm talking to you
no,
now,
no,
though.
I
understand. So can I ask you,
No.
Did you have a crisis of conscience in the way that General Afrifa did in 66?
I was representing the conscience of the armed forces, the conscience of the nation.
In 1982,
yes.
3 judges, 1 a woman, 2 of the men were killed in a rather gruesome fashion, shot at a military range, and then their bodies were burnt.
Yeah.
Does that trouble you?
Yeah, but Obazo Nkasa. Okay, me do have to platform so to make us.
Okay, but the chat here for you now. And my fans are so can be no. enye kontopo na otwa
Medase.
Ron said the Ghana pie camp and informed by Modi abroad there Ron so number 1. If you say control price buy and Ron is at the buy will be a find a near ma abegunu storm or send your man a turn a board. Near ma so ya for any ababo and your man don't come me. Say me boy. And you Ron said the what Asantefona Casano said you and ya come for no. A casa come for a crapping for Cajon, a bon for Cajon, a Santa for Cajon, and I'm Fantafono. Ron said, what dear bro? If say Kumasika for pa no more music papa be. And I be papa friend of watching mattress.
Watching mattress.
And I be papa, a friend of watching mattress. A Juma sound in the company at the core and say La Belia.
Yeah.
Tata brew no ye and sa dear. I want to say was there. In fact, the man of Plan and can you quite a mom beefy. I think or my book a ye. Sasabi ma or baby. Factories I never Ghana and some chemists and the other thing. I never was a beton to
Yeah.
And President Kupo by as a boy, President Kupo by and only a Yajma, I do not want 3 months or not 70 court.
Aye.
You see, I had the students, or more, I would take care more, I be similar some Kochuku, Mochuku, Costacuku, Abraham, on ye, Yelko.
What to come and stop?
What the camera classroom family by our Coconomase? Mudro hane astopo car no tawa na in table kai.
Aye.
Yeah, astopo mo na what you must see me no. Mama mo chuku. Kukumba so kukusa. Ron there Ghana for na kasa no. Na me kasa ya kan for na kasa na asantini bia na obi o katwi bia ni ho a. Eso odi NDC achiro. What me so ni pagu plem. Na na ju de so na ko hwe mo epum. I want to what did and someone what did the Nassam could do. What is it dear? Or Hanipa come for the or how more pane Santa for the comfort. Not factors for Ghana. First name you are Ghana. And you man of Ghana, never is a man among for music free Ghana, a call. La Belly and Yadi.
Cote d'Ivoire, no.
Oh, and you want to see as well what can I just turn a wucha. The banner say. And I'm saying Ghana for Nakasana, yam penno cracker. That's what I say. Any patun tumuno, a super tire, yam penno crack. So, said we will be walk around one bar, and the banner yard DNA and our kind of crown. Who will be the general support.
Yeah.
Shankolaya said we are from back room. Hey, I hope a pack of 4 back room. Over my microphone back room. I can't yet do one when you my pet after or qua professional manual. After Penifono and as a Beffy patcho. So if I also wouldn't hear, I saw Utimode. What Ghana, said you would take Ghana and said, I will cut in a channel. So I said, a man be class or her. Who Ghana crown, I said, you draw a crown, said you a tear with the panel airpump. Over do chrome her, or send you could knock a fan background when you're papa. Not coincident, baby. Oh, one background of Beman and answer, or be another Cassia as in Padania. So, and she said, be away by Papa, would the dear no cardi, so the support to NDC pass or ya Canadian. Not me who are there without Trimo. So I said, only
a man for any same way, no. If you're only
in pa, as I say, Samidian Fiacquito, Rabban Wabble. Okuja top braka, a ujina a domonim on mine. Nipa dompa ujina nimu. No ditro. Adia yawodia. So nyamedia me high. I said what we pay. Eh? Afeno busa was some pa say you busa wo. And one answer what to papa so as one won cano correct. If you yawodia, it was fear. Oh yeah, Juma was fear. Somebody him. A quite body am fast or body of runners fast who couldn't go for no. A coon ni power Ghana no. And not a chair one number and 3 was also no. So that go there. And today what can be as well can be unless it be a ton of water. So Yes, to na uto. Ano kora na uka na Ghana for na kasa no. Yempe no koreka. Ana senti na ayi. Ade say do mama ka che say yare refi. Ya refi duro ndi yare na yare pa na Ghana for yare. Na ka de na do ne ba omi aya ma Ghana for yi. Ke ba ka Ghana for ba ko to abatia no. Inia. Ka Ghana for ba ko to aba. Ani pa ka kire mo abegina Kumasi aka kire so Kumasi for de etro. Wo de tro da wo mo a. Ti si anu anya wo mo. Na me kasa mo a amamu no ye ka no kore o kan kontompo ara de no kore kakra bi aka ho e Ghana fo what is ani ma wo nyina so mo ntiase e ba koto abama do mama na fe ne nkola no mu ko so esi ye twam allowance mu a musu mu ko to school fees afa na wo fo no musu me se won twetwa ni nyina mu for education won twam so bibia ayi na na dum ye free bia won twam Roma say we go supermarket ya da bia to ade so.
Yeah.
Da bia be supermarket be to ade so. Loto Ghana for nkwa na muto loto.
Dabi, ai na profo loto mutwa bi eni e.
So I say omudi a ye nto motas.
Bebre kwa.
Na adwuma kura na wodu moja no ho ode akoye no. Ye adwuma ye ntetas.
Yes.
Company ya adwuma krom say ye ntetas be ahoro be komu tene de waiting de. Now they to krom ho na say ya titas bakutwa bet am ya titas ntimi koto ani enyina jejeje bo basa de sumu bio so ni pada kana mo de sumu fie nai anya mo ya amanfo de sika free hakoye amanfo ko so ko biebie ye aje besia amanfo boka ena mo promotion so je besia na betua
oh no be no akese wontua upompo betua
so de broni ba omi aye bia oji besia obetua na so bonti bibia se ye ka bibia mo bonte hwe ase na nkwana kete na sin training for alaba na yake enso ye nto ana mo kasa mo ti so no mapampa so mo kasa mo yobi na mo kasa kroma se ye no ye te ha se ye awo we wu na mu saa so to na mu machine adwuma no ono adwuma wura na kwapam esuo to awiabo road slow to ye den a obekọ won ko dwuma 2 days ya e wa nya se papa bi aka e be yi wadi
yes
protest na mo ti Ghana ho no na se sebi o ensem funko na modie ana dokoro boy den o mo he krom ha se ene krom ha se krom ayi ko ka se 1,000 euro kutawa 1,000 on to bibia o 1,000 euro en to fe no mo ti Ghana ho no mo se na do ayem bone pa wo mi en se share wo de to fom aka mo na mo mpe we na mo pede do mama ane wo kwa na ne pat prem no di na chi Oso ti hono mo onhwe nyansa ena gimi ena yesi etwem wo papa wo ska no so ko school bi etibi e offer asibi amede na afi na akosate na senti ni be ka chene say why lock so akowura mo be chem training ai anu oko se kanya di afi no wura mo a permanent na fi fi say akwasi ade no mo ayo mo ka say hada ete na anya ho kuso obi anya kwan ko beba fie ka ba owia ewi ni ye no ya ka ba fo bebre be ade fa so be na wa bojire hasisi a bibie ni ha abocha bibie ni ha o ka obo ntia se so ja se abocha hasisi bibie ni ha want to turn ye ma ya be se obi o ha de ko adwane be 3 times no o ka so o ka obi o ha wanyini so ja se no what na ho say roll se pa kwanya odi afa so pa patrice na ku Ghana ani Kumasi fo mpanimfo ani brofo mpanimfo a no ko tesika roll se jisika ni na 50 that time get to 50 cedis ai kokono o kaso wa obi afa bra amanfo pa kom de boto ana o mo koye o mo je sika roll se do sika ma we back o fa sika ni na obi abre agini anya ni sika oso fa skara bra na me sesa skara ko bank no e bi die me se e krom papa bi die ai anto bag be miensa what is fa skara na papa fa ho sa awre ho no de wuye
wow
na ron se de wadi abro ye kani pa wadi abro Ghana pa dia uyi ron se a o yi do mama sanko fu we say e wudie wo mutinu papa ndc ne de otu na obi e wo obejo na ndc bi asebi wo ya ka chini sete wo ya denya abo se na adwene kuta na nya papa na waso abo kan kra che na wo ya sami je fsha kwa kitwa gwisi sami je fo ya mada o pass law school no I court be like could be assemda. That's when was
yeah.
Okay, top rakwa. We go. What pass it? And so no for playing call land and koye.
Yeah.
Okay, top rakwa only down America. What down America?
Wow.
Okay, what down our America. They say, what down America. That's a tournament. Okay, to why mother.
Ajuma Bay. Abe.
Oh, yeah, mother. Oh, we school ana atamis adaroma. What didn't share? As was okay to Sorana, or no crop for 30 and work as we say, also can be was on. Will be about the product. So just here, no Mudinachi. Why any sing by the sing down or say Akawa army? So just say, no.
Simple grass.
So just say, yes, sir. Come up for Casano. I didn't a I didn't a form. So I didn't a form. And then you panic this on my friend, so just say,
yeah.
Naka. Anybody be free, you say, and come phone up your baby friend, also can't be 7 no money now. So, nobody actually. Or be also watching, I know the mamma. Come when you were, didn't send your Pusiana, or so be much like mamma. And nobody actually. Now, your mamma cast one of bomb Simon, and I see what can be maybe the bomb price won't be PM. Oh, papa, oh, mammy was canon. Oh, they are bad. Any papa, brands, and we do a pass up with Chasino. Send me easy. And yes, there's how. I will be Pessica, or be particular scrap of fee. And quiet yaman. And who share any penny? Who share any penny beer? Penny for penny for now. So we know about Trepa and about Masaya. Or more what you be obvious. I would say so we need. What do I say? Now you're to ma. Oh, they hit a I never work on a bit like Malatajum. I could not body. I will go up and ready. I never go. Papa Benno, Mammy Benno, or Fabian, I couldn't feel say, because could it? A 4 minute house also my name, a quack of time paper papa, the last time another debia, Mammy could 2 bunch and I could quite by Libby. Oh, and I got a phone and Cassano. We knew their how. So I said, we knew their home. Say to Mamma, we pa Ghana for a bumper or so as I made over Sunday. There was a Ghana 4 yenny pack. So, Omunipa. And he one is a poor Kuma for you. I know, I'm not condoning and this. What about that? And this. What do you do, man? You find a war, less of yourself. Ah, what's your force? A 4 pound to Musica war to Marcus here. There is a big woman at money. I say I control price you buy it. Almost a liar, man for so that we brew a 1 man or the night, you know, say, "Born say I'm a toro." A man for a ton to ma, must say a scaffold ton to ma, and you ma, all the city or more, near one don't come. I want to come control price. That's what can they say? I told them, which one crap on our call, and I'm a man or sir. Or we try in a Ghana for them because I didn't tire, said me. A Bronia, what the 5 years ago, I'm not doing any more dot check. Yeah, Ghana for no, you go on. Ah, but they only say you're Ghana for pa.
Yeah, some
Sure.
no problem.
But when you said you can, that's a joke. I mean, I look at what I'm calling. I smoke a beer on a crown.
Yeah.
But your program, pa. Oh, that's why smoke a beer. Now, that's a young few way, probably no abo. And your corona, or person, yeah, but you are the Samuel Shakoto. Yeah, your mama and the other has Samuel Fisco.
Yeah.
A bruni boy, yeah, was somebody post, yeah, what they call Ofusuko, I want to say, your mama never.
I'll say, I'm saying, I'm on the post. I'm so I'm on the COB and a BBC.
I want to see that I go for Suka, I go for Suka, I boy, not all. I know for Sukachi, baby, I MPP town, and a boy, a fellow. I could feel for soon cancer.
Okay, yeah, Mahu, yeah. I
want to go on echo.
Wow.
So, what can you say? And your money be one more, I don't know, don't want to head to school. Law school, I want you to my never and a Rebecca. Just I'm for because I want to know I want to my seat. No, the must be Tiana and Brown. Yeah, you can pay. No, I won't go with some shit. You can't give me some kind of one and some. Don't, mama. Any pocket tell me so, no, and no credit. I won't cut. What the no credit? Contumpo, not a cow. Now, what done the pageant. And they own, or quite, part pay no tin che so nursing train na wo kono alaba kakra de baba 400 na de ba wo twem
Etwam.
o tin che